crafters, it's Sandy back with a fun Halloween card using several die sets from Karen Burniston. I've linked all the dies below in the description box. I'm starting out with 2 floating floors from the house and fence die set. Since this is an alteration, I needed an extra slot in my card. I've placed and cut mine using a die from the oval pull card, but you could easily do this by hand. I wanted a little additional support for my haunted house since I'm not putting it in the traditional place. I'll need an additional support piece as well. This is one side of the double floor that I'm turning over to add some Scotch tape across the tab. This will keep the tab in the closed position. I'm going to do the same thing to both pieces. With this alteration, I don't need these little tabs, so I'm going to remove it doing the same thing on both sides. Next, I'm going to extend the crease line that was made by the die to cover the center section. Treat both sections the same and then give it a good press. Since this is a graveyard, I think we should add a little dirt, and I did that with a little bit of brown ink on all of the edges of both pieces. The floor pieces have a double crease and a single crease on either end, and for now we're working only with the single crease side. I've already added double-sided tape, and now I'm going to remove the liner, exposing the sticky on the back section only. Now I'm going to grab one of the graveyard pieces that I've already cut, and I'm going to line it up so that I get all of the pieces on the background that I want. As you can see, the graveyard piece is much wider than the floor piece, but once I get it stuck in place, I'm simply going to trim it off so that they are the same width. Okay, with that done, I want to bring in the front section with the 3 holes and add it to the back section. Once again, I'm going to remove the tape liner on the single crease side and put right side to right side, making a sandwich out of the graveyard section. I've cut my card base to match the floating floor, which is 4 inches wide. I wanted a little extra space at the ends, so I cut my paper 4 by 11 inches with a crease in the center. I've used some great double-sided paper with a pattern on the front, so I made sure that the pattern was going in the correct direction when I added it to the floor. I just hate when the front ends up upside down. Next, I'm going to work with my card opened flat on the work surface. Next, I'm going to be working with the double crease side of the floor pieces. I've already added double-sided tape to the very last section on each end. Holding the floors right side to right side, I'm going to place the graveyard section at the center fold of the card. When I get it lined up, I'm going to put some clear tape to hold it in place. I could probably skip this step, but I want the center of the card to stay in the fold when it's opened and not popping up. Now we're going to move the entire section toward the back of the card, keeping everything lined up with the crease. After adding another piece of tape on this side, everything should stay as I like it. Now it's time to work with the double creased ends of the floors. Open the center sections up and remove the tape liner from one section only. I am now going to fold on the second crease line, folding down 2 sections with the adhesive on the bottom. Now, holding the back section at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to press the adhesive onto the card base and give it a good press. I am now going to turn the card completely around, remove the tape liner, fold down on the second line. Now I'm going to simply close the card onto the tape. Need to line this up rather carefully because this tape sometimes can be very unforgiving. Voila, just what I was wanting. Next, I'm going to add the support pieces, which all have a crease line So I'm going to crease each one. When I'm finished creasing, I'm going to add a little dot of glue to the smallest portion, and then I'm going to add them through the slots and glue them to the bottom of the card base. I like using liquid adhesive for this because it gives you a couple of seconds to put everything in place and adjust it just as you want it. I have the first one in there, but it's a little bit crooked, so I'm going to adjust it with my tweezers, get it nice and straight. And after that's done, I'm going to go back in with my bone folder because it's nice and flat. I can press that glue against the card base. When all 5 supports are in place, it should look exactly like this. I've gone ahead and cut out all the parts that I think I'm going to need from several different die sets. Now, I always have the option of changing my mind later, either adding or subtracting as I feel necessary. With so many small dies, we all know how easy it is to lose them or to accidentally throw them away with our scrap paper. So I'm going to share a little tip that has saved me. This is a magnetic bowl that was designed for mechanics, and I bought it at Harbor Freight. And it holds all of the dies very nicely. Sorry about the reflection, but just wanted to share this with you. You can see that it holds the dice nicely. They don't fall out even if you tip the bowl up. And it comes in different sizes. I have 2 of these small ones. One I keep in my toolbox for crops, and another one by my sidekick for those itty-bitty dies. If you forget to place your die in the bowl and you think you've lost it, don't forget to look on the underside, because there it is. So now on with our project. If you have any of these die sets, I'm sure you will recognize some of the pieces. I've used the house die, but I also wanted an extra turret for my haunted house, so I used part of the castle pop-up. I've cut 2 of the cobblestone pathways, one to use as a pathway and the other to use beneath the turret of my house. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the house now. I found this great paper with little spiders printed on it, so I cut it out strategically so I would have spiders on different locations. I'm going to go ahead and add the cobblestones on my house and then place the turret on top of that. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now I'm going to add the roof. Earlier I cut out the window with the shutters, and then I cut one shutter off because I want to put it at an angle to look like it's falling off of the haunted house. Before I go ahead and add that window, I'm going to add the little ghost that I've cut from vellum. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the front side of him and place him through the window. Now, if I were doing this card again, I would not place him where I did this time. I would place him on the turret window because he would be more easily seen from the front of the card. Okay, a little bit of glue and we're good to go. The window is all set. Now I just have to add that broken shutter. Now I just have the door to add, and I'm going to put that at an angle so it looks like it's kind of dilapidated. Okay, now I have everything where I want it. I'm going to turn the house over and just trim off those pieces of the door so it's even with the bottom. I'm I'm going to set the house aside now and let the glue all set, but I want to talk about the arch and the fence. The fence is from the house and fence die, of course, but I did make the arch myself by using the crosshatch oval and the coordinating smaller oval just inside of it. I laid it out on the paper on my die cutting machine like this, and then I ran it through the machine, and once it came out, I simply cut it off at the height that I wanted. Then I just had to add a crazy bat. I had to do a little gardening on the trees and give them a little trim because I wanted them to fit inside the card. Next, I decided that the perfect place for the spider web was right on that haunted house. So I cut a portion of it off and glued it on. It looks fabulous with that little spider. For the moon, I cut a yellow circle and then cut a portion of it off so it would still fit within the confines of the card. But after I got it finished, I decided that it still needed a little something. So I got out some violet ink and did a little bit of edging. I always like to edge those kinds of things. That's better. Now that most things are ready, I think I'm going to start adding my elements to the card. As you can see, I've already added some double-sided tape to the back edge. I'm just going to peel the liner off right now. And then I'm going to add my moon. I'm going to line it up just perfectly so it fits inside of the card all the way around. Then I'm going to press that adhesive down on it. Now when the card goes down, the moon stands up. Next I want a single tombstone, and I've already cut one out of the spider paper, and of course I have the spider right on the tombstone. How scary. A little edging, and I'm going to attach it to the card. I'm going to add a little glue right to this support, and then I'm going to put my tombstone on there. Okay, that looks good. Next up are the trees, and the support pieces are just a little bit wider than the trunk of the tree. But what I decided to do was go ahead and glue them on so that they stay inside of the card, and then when the glue is set, trim them off. Okay, one tree. Let's give it a little test. We're going to close the card. Uh-oh, I spy. Since I used liquid glue, I still have time to move it. Okay, looks like it's good to go. Right now the card is having trouble staying flat when it's in the open position, but as soon as I put a front on and a place for a greeting, that weight is going to hold that down. Now it's time to add the haunted house. A little dab of glue will do you. Okay, one more tree. Okay, everything is looking good so far. The last thing to go on the floating floor will be the fence and the arch. Oops, I nearly forgot about my little cobblestone sidewalk, so let's add that. I think now is a perfect time for a little test. Seems that everything closes and opens correctly. For a finishing touch, I'm going to add a little jack-o'-lantern right outside the arch so he can welcome visitors to the haunted house. To finish off this card, I added two simple panels, one on the inside to put a greeting and one on the outside to decorate the front. You can see these on the pictures at the end of the video. To see more photos, please stop by my blog, which is linked below. Also linked below are Karen's instruction videos for the die sets that I used today. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, happy haunting.